Lord, teach us to listen, to understand, to serve the people we represent. Help us to be fair and just in our decision making. Give us wisdom and strength to make the right decisions. Amen.
Amen. We are going to remove item 10 from the agenda at this time for lack of some information.
Your Honor, Roger's here. I wonder if you want to pick his brain and see if we, you get this out of the way for you. I know you're busy.
We still need to put the whole package together with that,
Okay.
with that figure.
Okay, well, they're separate, the water and sewer and the general. It's all just the only thing I'm saying. Maybe you could tell you.
Yeah, I'll get to him on that, yes. Clerk, call the roll.
Mayor Stafford.
Here.
Alderman Lincoln. Here. Alderman Sahaski.
Here.
Alderman Weston.
Here.
Alderman Sherman.
Here.
Alderman Thompson.
Here.
Alderman Woodward.
Here.
All present, Your Honor.
Well, we've got an item on the agenda that's even before 1A, the Welcome to Fulton signs from Howard Rose. You have a presentation to make to us, I guess.
Yeah, I'd like to start this off. Towards the end of last year, the council approved some signage that is going to go underneath the Fulton Welcomes You signs. We have 6 entrance signs to our city. We're certainly very pleased to once again recognize the veterans and the contribution that they have made to our country. In particular, the sign that we had made up recognizes a Congressional Medal of Honor winner, which is a very, very exclusive group of people. We're very fortunate to have one. His name was Corporal Barrett. And I'd like to introduce Bud Shinnick, who is president of the Veterans Council. I'd like to introduce Ken Patrick, who is had many titles. He's a past president of the Veterans Council. He is constantly working on projects. He's working on 2 or 3 projects now. It was his thought, his concept, that we recognize Corporal Barrett, and it certainly was a good idea. And also I'd like to introduce Howard Rose, who is the owner and operator of Howard Rose Art Sign Service, one of our recent businesses at Canal Landing. So at this time, I'd like to have these gentlemen hold the sign up, and I'll have Howard tell you a little bit about how this thing was developed.
Please, Taylor, why don't you come back here?
It's just right back. Come right around us.
Watch the coat.
Watch your
Stop. Watch the coat.
These signs are made of vertical grain clear heart redwood, which is a very durable wood, and lends, which is what was chosen. These are also 22 karat gold leaf letters. This is a photographic image of the metal, and it was laminated to a piece of material that was laminated to the board. These are designed to be very durable and low maintenance, so they should last for years and years. Like anything, at the time it would need some paint probably, but these are going to go right below the main Fulton Welcomes You sign. And these match the upright posts that support the sign, so we tie in aesthetically with the sign. The signs are relocated. I guess some of them need to be relocated. As soon as that's done, we'll be installing them in all the locations.
I think if Bud or Ken would like to say something about Corporal Barrett, maybe this would be a good time to do that.
Well, I'd like to say a couple things. Number one, I'd like to thank the mayor and the common council for their insight in allowing this to be at the entrance of the city. Because in the beginning, we did have a few problems with that. But I think what the important thing is, and I don't think a lot of people know, that in the Second World War, there was almost 2,800 veterans went from the city of Fulton. And when you think of the population of Fulton, that's a lot of men and women went out of this city. And we were very fortunate in such a small city to have a Congressional Medal of Honor winner. And we all should be very proud of that, and even in the future, they should be very proud of that. As long as I'm talking, I had one other thing in mind I'd like to bring out. Many cities light their entrance signs as you come into the city. And I thought it would be very nice if the city of Fulton and the common council would consider lighting the 6 signs as you come into the city and putting lights on it sometime once they're moved and everything. The Boy Scouts have decided that they will take care of them, and we will see that the planning is there. And if they're lit and everything, we could put flags there on special days and maybe even leave some flags there all summer, like they do throughout the city of Fulton. And I think we should be very proud of having this sign at the entrance of the city. I know I am, and I'm very thankful for everyone that was behind it.
How many Congressional Medal of Honor winners are there, or were there in World War II?
I am not sure. It seemed like there was 100 and something, and it seemed like there was, since the Civil War, at the beginning of the Civil War, there was only like 600. There was either 600 or 700 or something in the whole country.
It's definitely an honor for the city of Fulton to have been the home of, winner.
And I'd like to say thank you, too, for his 2 daughters who I've been in contact with. One lives in the state of Washington, one in Florida, and his sister who lives in Los Angeles. And she would always like to get back here to see us someday, but she's about 84 now, his sister is. They're very thankful to the city for doing this.
I'd just like to thank the mayor, the council, on behalf of the Veterans of Fulton and the Veterans Council, of course. The Boy Scouts, we are negotiating with several troops. This will give the Scouts a chance to attain a merit badge, which we're pretty proud of, and towards their ego and everything else. So it's going good. It'll look beautiful.
I think I also want to point out, I want to thank Howard Rose, because he has contributed his labor and his daughter's labor as his contribution to the city. So the only cost was just the cost of the materials itself.
And all of this gold he put on here was all his own idea. This was all thanks to the church.
If I put gold paint on it, it would last a few years, and then we repaint it. This will last a while.
Better not announce it too far.
Well, we'll have the serviceman guardian.
Howard, thank you very much for your contribution toward this project. That's really appreciated.
I also like to thank Bob Weston here, who's been somebody that's been behind me all the time in this, and I really appreciate that, Bob.
Well, thanks, Ken. It was a great idea. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 1A.
Resolved that the comprehensive emergency management plan for the city of Fulton is hereby adopted as attached.
A little explanation on this is a number of years ago, we started putting together a comprehensive emergency management plan for the city of Fulton. I think it might have been 95, 96. And we got some work done, and then due to other priorities, it got shelved, and we were able to bring it back out last winter and spring, and put a lot of time into it. And tonight, Pat Egan, from the Director of Emergency Management, is here, and I would like her to say a few words as to what this is all about.
As most of you know, most of the counties that surround us in New York State have been victims to a number of different plagues in the forms of train derailments and hazmat incidents and ice storms and windstorms and all of that. For some reason, the county of Oswego has escaped so far, but that's certainly a temporary situation. We took the opportunity to approach the officials of the city of Fulton and offer some assistance and some partnership in putting together this comprehensive emergency management plan, which speaks to the responsibilities, the authority, and the standard operating guidelines that are involved in mitigation of disasters, response to disasters, and recovery from disasters. With a really fine committee, including Chief Gurria, Frank Abbott, Chief Spawn, Peter Franco, Roger Parsons, Mayor Stafford, and John Crook. Members of my office sat down with these responsible people and put together what they think will be the best plan of approach if disaster or emergency should hit not only the county but very specifically the city of Fulton. We present to you tonight the work of their efforts. If you have any questions about the contents of the plan or the purpose, I'd be more than happy to address them.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
How do you rank, if you look at section 2, or sorry, section 2, page 3, how did you end up with the rankings and how they apply to the city? It seems to me that ice storm, which is number 4, and winter storm, which is number 5, are much more likely around here than number 1, which is terrorism.
Okay, and that's a very fair question. The New York State Emergency Management Office, along with some of the county managers, put together a software program that the American Red Cross had some influence in also. This is not the incidence of disaster, because you're absolutely correct. Ice storm is probably much more apt to happen, as would be an act of terrorism. However, this is a vulnerability study, which simply means that if terrorism should occur within the city limits, its impact in scope, duration, frequency, damage, impact on population and property would be much more severe than if we fell victim to an ice storm. We are hardy souls.
Used to handling it? Okay.
Sure. And that was put together by the committee. We did a study, probably took a couple of meetings to put that together, and it's a computer spreadsheet kind of thing where the computer does the magic, we put in our input.
All right.
Does anyone else have any questions? Council. Thank you very much, Pat. I really appreciate all the input that we received from your office, and the assistance was just great. It was good working with you.
For letting us work with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pat.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll offer it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved, the minutes of the Common Council meeting held on January 19th, 1999 are hereby approved.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Resolved that the city clerk's report for December 1998 in the amount of $8,722.16 is hereby received, approved, and placed on file.
Do I hear a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the city clerk's annual report for 1998 in the amount of $93,711.96 is hereby received, approved, and placed on file.
Motion.
I'll move that.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the city attorney is authorized to settle the pending Article 7 certiorari lawsuit with Pyramid regarding tax map number 235.68-01-01 906 West Broadway by setting the 1998 assessment at $2,200,000.
Mr. Hawthorne, would you comment on this?
Pyramid Companies, which is the property known as the Pyramid Mall, had filed a tax grievance or certiorari case. The current assessment is $3.06 million. They have asked that it be reduced to $1.5 million. The current assessment was based on the fact that we didn't have a lot of information from them, especially in regards to their income and expense information and their lease information, which is necessary to make an accurate assessment of the property. We've had negotiations with them and have come up with a proposed settlement of $2.2 million on the assessment. Myself and Diane Moore, the tax assessor, have worked hard on this, and I think she's of the opinion that that's a very fair settlement to the city, and that if we continued on with the court case, it's very likely that we would end up less than that. So therefore, she's recommended that we settle at that amount, and we've asked that the council approve that.
David, is there a payback on that?
There would be a payback from the school because this affects the school tax bills that were paid last fall. I think the amount is $15,230 that the school would have to pay back. Apparently, they have not yet paid their tax that just came out, so there would not be a refund due from the city.
Do we know what the difference is from the city? Do we know what the difference is to the city? What their bill was printed up versus what they're going to be
I
paying?
don't know.
She's out here.
Diane? You know what the difference is in tax due the city for 99?
The other thing.
$9,000 off the top of my head. Does that sound close?
The rate is $11 and city tax rate is $11 and something. You would take the difference between 3.060 and
360,000 times the 11 rates would be about 12 probably.
Okay.
So if they fill in these other stores that haven't been rented for 2 or 3 years over there, the rate will go up, right? Because that's what it was based on?
Sure, it's always subject to review each year.
Right.
Well, actually, no, I got to say, when you do a settlement like this, as part of any tax settlement in these kind of cases, new law went into effect about 2 or 3 years ago that says you keep it for 3 years and neither side will change. Like, we won't change the assessment and they won't challenge it.
Even if there's something materially different with the property?
Well, no, if there's a material difference, which would usually be obviously improvement to the property. Now, whether actually renting space that wasn't previously rented would qualify, I think it probably would.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. You do base it on the rentals, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, okay. I can see that. They've been vacant, and they probably couldn't get the information they needed to, no.
But Pyramid agreed with the settlement, because you said that if we continue, we probably go deeper in the hole. So wouldn't it behoove Pyramid to continue the certiorari proceedings instead of trying to settle them now?
Well, you're kind of putting, I mean, you're in a position here, John, because we're essentially, by saying that, we're tipping our hand to them that, hey, you could have done better, and we don't want them to realize that, I guess is one way to put it. I mean, it's, you know, when you're in these kind of negotiations and you think you've got you think you've done quite well, once you publicize that and the other side realizes it, I mean, you run that risk of them saying, well, geez, maybe we don't want to do this. So, I don't know.
We have an agreement on their side for the $1.5 million?
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I'll move it.
We have a motion? We have a second. On the motion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed?
I oppose it.
Motion's carried.
Resolved that the city clerk be authorized and directed to advertise for a public hearing to be held on Tuesday, March 2nd, 1999, at 7 p.m. The Common Council Chambers of the Municipal Building relative to a proposed local law which would amend Chapter 154 of the City Code by adding Article 6 entitled Disability Exemption.
Do I hear a motion?
Is that okay, Bob?
That's okay.
I'll move it.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the police department conduct a traffic study on the 200 block of Utica Street for the feasibility of instituting two-way traffic there.
I want to mention something here, too. I haven't really talked to you about it, Ron, but,
I see that, yeah, that's, we split that block there, yeah.
yeah, we do.
Yeah.
Half of it's yours and half of it's mine. The chamber wants people to be able to go up the hill.
Well, I knew the chamber wanted that at one time. Is
The
that
only thing
just
that I
for the
was-
200 block? And
That's what I was going to ask, is the 300 block is one way, too. You want to have them do a study for both blocks and then recommend yes, no to one or the other or both?
Yeah, well, they're gonna go study the traffic pattern, but we gotta study that pattern like 7 days a week, because you got the church in there, and they use that for a lot of things.
Right.
Besides just church, they use it for alcohol counseling and other stuff.
Do you want to expand
Yeah,
that?
that's what my question is. You want to move it
Yeah,
up to the 300
somehow I
block, too?
wanna
So that way you
know
don't have
that-
just one block that's one way?
Yeah, I'd like to expand it, but I somehow would like to do some kind of study on how the people that live there feel about it.
Well, I'm going to be doing that study this weekend
All right,
when I
I'll,
knock on their doors.
Yeah, okay, so you wanna go 300 block?
Yeah,
Okay. Do we have a motion?
I'll move it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the following claims are referred to the city attorney. Letter of claim submitted by Mr. Timothy Coyne, 73 Pollard Drive, for property damage to his wooden mailbox alleged to have occurred on January 15th when a city snowplow struck it. Letter of claim submitted by Mr. Frank Colasino, 155 West First Street, South, for property damage to his lawn and post rail fence alleged to have occurred on January 13th, 1999, caused by a city snowplow. Letter of claim submitted by Mr. Richard Keller, 254 South 2nd Street, for property loss alleged to have occurred when his garbage can and lids were thrown away by city workers.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the mayor be authorized to sign an agreement between the city of Fulton and Cox and Associates for a development plan for Van Buren Park and Waterhouse Creek, the amount of $4,000. Said bid is to be from the monies granted by the state for Bullhead Point and other city projects. Be it further resolved that the Chamberlain is authorized to establish a Van Buren Park capital projects account.
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second. Go ahead.
Ed may want to speak to that, or somebody else on the environmental committee. Why don't you, if you want to?
Basically, and just generally looking at it, we just want to do a study down in the Van Buren Park and just to look for something to develop down there in the future. And we want to make sure that everything is cleared and safe, and that we could do these things and put it well together.
That's on a recreational note, though, not,
Right.
from, just to clarify that
Yeah,
it's
sort
not
of,
industrial or commercial, it's just for,
Sort of both committees, really.
right.
Did you solicit bids from more than one place and end up with Cox and Associates?
Yeah, three different bids. COTS seem to have a more inclusive, they do an awful lot of those kind of studies. Recreation is their forte, so.
It's their bag.
The environmental committee established 8 or 10 priorities, and then we decided on the development of Van Buren Park. We felt that was that we could get the most benefit out of expanding on something that right now is not used by anybody, and if we can develop an area for recreation down there, that we can utilize it where it isn't being utilized now. So we just feel that's a large parcel of land that can be developed.
Is, COTS will give this a clean bill of health? We already got that?
Yes, they will.
Because we
they'll do-
did develop that park over the years, and we had wall-to-wall kids there. Joe Teeter will tell you. He was in junior baseball. When I was alderman the first time, we developed that hardball diamond. Remember, Joe?
Yep.
And then there was a big environmental concern that the kids would get sick if they smelled the air down there, and everybody left. Big exit. And is that resolved now?
Well, that's what that's going to be part of the study. You know,
Because we spent a ton of money down
No, we're
there.
not going to develop anything until we're assured that we can go ahead and do something like that.
Yeah, but back in, remember, Joe, we had junior baseball down there every night, every week. We kicked the beer teams out of there so the kids could use the park and put the playground equipment in it and developed everything, and then all of a sudden it was declared a disaster zone, and everybody had to leave. I just want to make sure that we don't do that again.
Definitely. Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
That's the problem.
Motion carried.
I know the problem.
Next item.
Resolved that the mayor be authorized to sign the tentative one-year 1990 agreement between the City of Fulton and the CSEA.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll offer that, Your Honor.
Second? Question?
Is there a cost on that? Has that been costed up as to how much it would cost?
Yes.
The
Anybody know what that amount is? Or?
$95,000?
$94,000.
Okay, do you know what that includes? Like, is it 2%, 3%?
What the contract was a 3% across the board raise, and then adjustments to some of the positions. Longevity and adjustments to some of the positions that were at the lower paid.
3 years ago, I spoke before the council, and I said that it's time with contracts, and they didn't do it then, to take a look at hourly wage increases, like the private sector, private industry, as opposed to percentage raises. Because percentage raises, and I'll take a DPW salary at $25,000 and a DPW salary at $20,000, 3% ain't going to mean the same thing to those two guys. An hourly rate would be more equitable. And I'm not saying an hourly rate is going to save you any more money. You know, if you took $25,000 at 3%, that's $750. And $20,000.
600.
And I could be using very old numbers. These were numbers that when I was an alderman was, you know, is what they were making. I'm sure it's much different today. But it's what, $600. You know, I think it would be more fair if you step back and took a look at an hourly wage increase, like the people who are paying the bills. That's what we get every year. I think it's time. Even in state government now, if you look, they only give like $500 or $1,000 raises. They don't give percentage raises anymore. It's like your throughway workers, your state police, things like that. Percentage raises, I think, are a way of the past.
You know what, Jim?
I tend to agree with you.
The only problem with that is, if you give a $1 increase to everyone across the board, then the guy on the high end is going to say, I got 1%, and the guy on the low end is going to say, I got 6%.
You're absolutely right, but it's got to start somewhere, Ron.
You know?
You can't keep going 3% on top of 3%.
No, I know that.
On top of 3%.
I know.
I was here 3 years ago and told him that.
But it's a lot easier to do it with, you know, when you're negotiating contracts and
Okay, let me ask you this. In
You have another
negotiations, did we get anything back? Did we get copay?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Did we get...
There were concessions made. These have been very difficult negotiations.
Yeah.
This took a lot of time, and I sat on all of them. We had a long, lengthy time with the fire department, and we have with the CSEA also.
You're not done with them, I hope.
With what? Fire department?
Fire department.
They have a contract through 99 now. We're getting everybody through 99 so that
Right.
all the contracts end at the same year. One of the things that influenced where we were headed is the last administration had given the police department a 3-year contract.
Which is when I was here and spoke against it.
87 or 97, 98, and 99. So now we're getting everybody up through 99, and negotiations will start late summer, early fall for a new thing.
If this is done, which looks like it is, I hope that in the future we try to shy away from percentage increases. Because they're not fair to the guy on the bottom doing all the work. And you take in police, I'll use an example, and I'm probably wrong with my numbers because I didn't come prepared, which is not like me. The guy on the top end You take a captain or lieutenant, probably at 42,000. Captain I know is not there, but lieutenants maybe 42,000. The new guys coming in are starting at like 22. 3% on 42 and 3% on 22 is very inequitable.
But what you've got to remember is when those salary structures were put in place, the increased salaries were put in place for people with more responsibility. Now, if you go with a straight dollar figure, then you get a shrinkage between upper and lower.
But you can also create like out of title, or you can make tiers. Like the county has tiers to work up to.
Well, yes.
You know, you could do something
Well,
like that.
that's we have that, and that's one of the things that we have put in this CSEA contract. Is now we have a salary schedule that they can go by and see what they should be making.
I don't begrudge anybody a raise, don't get me wrong, but I think we have to, watch what we're doing. I mean, 3% on top of 3% year over year gets to be too much. It's not what's happening in the private sector.
I understand that.
It's not happening.
Yes.
And I speak for all the other people who work in the private sector. And I'd like to walk into my company and get a 3% raise. I'd walk out smiling like that.
Me too. Me too.
Yes.
And year over year, I see it happen here. That's why I was here in the past, and I see a little blip in the paper that was going to happen tonight. I called an alderman. I said, "Man, that's not happening tonight, is it?" Without any chance to even look at it. But I hope in the future, that we take a look at it, an hourly increase, as opposed to percentage. And in the end, I think it'll save the taxpayer some money too, without having to cut services someplace else, because we spend so much on our .1 accounts that we got no money for anything else. Because your budget is probably 80% employee driven.
At least.
At least.
Yeah, our service costs are high because that's what we do. We provide the service. Sure. We're providing
I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Your Honor, can I say something?
Yes.
I'm a member of the CSEA through the county of Oswego, so I'm going to be abstaining from this vote.
All right.
I do want to say this, so that I think that the people who work in this CSEA local are very good workers, and they deserve a raise, and they do a very nice job for the city.
I agree with you 100%.
I had a motion. I didn't hear the second.
We have a motion, but he didn't hear the second. Who seconded?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And Your Honor, I'd like to say I think that all our city employees do a real good job, but this group are the guys that are out plowing the snow and picking up the garbage in all kinds of weather and down in the trenches, and traditionally they have been the lower paid in the city, and I think that we still have a ways to go and bring them up where they belong. I think this is a good contract, though.
We're working.
I think we're doing well at it, and I vote yes.
Thank you. Motion is carried. Next item.
Resolved that the city hire 2 temporary firefighters to attend the Fire Academy in Montour Falls, New York in March 1999. Said hiring would result in an overtime savings due to potential retirements and vacation coverage.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll move it. Maybe before we take a vote on this, maybe 23 or John Crook kind of come up and explain it to people here in the audience as to why we're doing what we're doing.
The reason that this is being requested is that there's a potential of 5 retirees this year. There's a strong indication that we could experience 2 by summer. The Fire Academy isn't an ongoing process through the year. They only have 1 or 2 each year. The one that's coming up begins on March 14th. We have to have the names in to register them by February 15th to the Academy.
if we fail to meet this academy, we won't have the opportunity to have a trained firefighter until the end of October. If someone was to retire in March or April or May, we're going to experience vacancies, which is going to require overtime to cover those positions. Getting these people in and getting them trained, and if the retirements were to happen, you have the people to fill the positions right away.
I'm very supportive of this, but I just wanted everybody to know why we were doing it.
Okay, in the past several years, we've always had vacancies and people have been away training, and it's unnecessary overtime. Okay?
Thank you, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
I have a motion, I need a second.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next item.
Resolved that the position of wastewater treatment maintenance worker be reclassified to that of a wastewater treatment plant operator to more efficiently accommodate the operational needs and objectives of the department.
You want to a little bit more clearly describe
Mike, you want to do it, or you want me to do it?
why we're doing this?
You were working on that one.
Well, what we did is, I think the council knows that we had 2 part-time help down there at the waste treatment plant, and of course,
They're gone.
they're gone. We had 1 position open for a maintenance worker, okay? And 1 position for a maintenance worker was filled last year. We realized, for a couple of reasons, number 1, we used to have 3 operators, then we went to 2. And we realized that that maintenance worker, we needed a person with some more skill and some more technical background. So we asked, I say we, Roger, I, the mayor, asked if the Civil Service Commission would look at that. We made some suggestions to try to upgrade that job. But no matter what we did, it was hard to upgrade that job and still leave it in the labor classification, because what it would do if other people were to bid on it, it would put it out of the reach in the labor classification. So the only other thing we could do is try to get something between maintenance worker and maintenance mechanic, so that we would have to put something in between the 2, okay? What we were looking at is somebody that could run the belt press, drive a truck that takes the sludge to the landfill, do some basic computer skills that are necessary to the job to fulfill the Department of Environmental Conservation tasks that we need. Couldn't do it. Now, Ed took it to the Civil Service Commission, and we come up far short of what we wanted for that position with that salary range. But also, we tried not to tailor that position to one of the 2 part-timers down there, because it would have been unfair to the union, the people that would want to have an upgrade. I made the suggestion, and Roger and the 2 chief operators, that why not bring back the operator position, because what that would do is that would allow him to do everything there. Drive the truck, run the pump press, this is another problem we get into, we're bonding money to add that chlorine stabilizer. That was something that we got into a problem with, where it was manually and physically checked every day and calibration done on it, and wasn't done to a sufficient situation where the DEC was happy with it, so they said, all right, go out and put something automatic in, so we do not have to rely on a non-technical person or whatever. So we needed somebody that could do all of it, and not only that, with 2 operators on, instead of 3, if one was out sick and the other one was on vacation, we had no one to cover our industrial pretreatment program. And when our maintenance worker didn't have a license to drive the sludge truck, if we only had 1 guy on, we were pulling him out to drive a sludge truck. So what we did is we traded that position of maintenance treatment worker for an operator, which pays more, by the way, about $6,000 a year. But those 3 operators now will do everything. They'll drive the truck, they'll run the pump press if the guy's out, or they can do it all, the whole thing.
We feel that this change will be beneficial to the city by having more qualified people down there.
Right. It covered the deal. The difference, Charlie, the difference is about $3 an hour, but if we'd have got a position in between the two, it would have been about $50 an hour. But we had a hard time doing it and being fair to everybody involved. You know what I'm saying? So this way we felt in order for these guys to have that position, they have to have a license.
And this operator's a competitive position now.
It's a competitive position. Right.
So it'll be open for testing.
We monkeyed around with it for about 6 months trying to do something that we could do to try to keep that place running so we could keep our integrity of our discharge permits for the state. This is what we come up with.
Do I hear a motion?
Do you have any more questions, John? Nope. I'll offer that, Your Honor.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Does anyone on the council have any business to bring before the council?
I've got a couple of minutes I'd like to speak. The last couple of days we've had rain and what has resulted in dirty snow. But the first 2 weeks in January, everything was white and there was too much of it. So when that happens, there's a lot of concerns from people. And I see John Allen in the audience, and so I got to be careful of my information, but I'll do the best I can. The first 2 weeks in January, we had lots of snow, and there's a lot of concerns from the people and from the aldermen, and of course you hear, I haven't seen the plow, where's the plow? And then after we get the snow off the streets, where is the rotary to cut back the banks and the intersections you can't see? Well, we have 66 miles of streets. We have 9 municipal parking lots we have to take care of. As far as equipment goes, we have 9 plows, 6 of which are in constant use when we have a snow emergency. There's 3 plows we use for parts, we use for backup. We have 2 sanders, we have 2 rotary snow blowers. The rotary snow blowers go north and south, then east and west. Naturally, they don't go out until all the streets are clear. What happens is the police who are on 24-hour patrol, they notify the DPW foreman that there is excessive snowfall and that we need to bring our people in. Now, this results in 1 phone call to the foreman then has to call the people in. As far as manpower goes, we have 6 drivers, we have 6 wingmen, because each snowplow has a driver and a wingman. We have 2 snowplow drivers in training. John, I think, has been with the department, I'm thinking 25 years? 32 years. And of course, John has been driving snowplows and heavy equipment. I can remember when I used to, I could see him coming down the street, and there's a great big payloader, and I'd look up there, and it was John Allen, and after I got involved in city government, then of course I see him more often. But the manpower, we have 37 workers, which we have 2 mechanics, we have a dispatcher, we have 2 foremen, we have a commissioner. We used to have 44 through attrition and naturally the tendency of city government, and we have to do that, is to try to get as much done as we can with the least amount of people. So that kind of has been what we've been trying to do. And also people have to remember that the DPW does every job that isn't necessarily designated to someone else. So the people that plow the streets, sand the streets, the rotary snow blowers, the small plows on the bridges, payloaders, they're the same people that are picking up the garbage and recyclables. So what happened during January, there were some days where we had to abandon the pickup of garbage and recyclables because we had to get rid of the snow. Now what happens, the first thing that the DPW does is clear the bridges, clear the major routes, Route 3, 481. These are state highways, and the city's reimbursed for doing that snow removal. It is effective, efficient for 3 plows to go across the bridge at the same time. Probably you won't see them unless you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock or whatever. They do some of the other major roads, they'll go 2 plows. It all depends on the timing too, because what happens is if it snows if it's snowing, and first of all, these guys have to be able to see, so the visibility is very poor, it's snowing hard, and it also, if you want your street plowed at 7 o'clock in the morning and it started snowing heavily at 5, and we just don't have time to get them all cleaned up. Now, it takes 4.5 hours to go through a ward. So as much as you'd like that snowplow to go by your house first, he's got a certain route to run, and it takes 4.5 hours. So many times they'll complete a run and then go right back again, because they'll just repeat it because of the frequency of the snow. Now, what also happens is, unfortunately, with equipment, which is heavy equipment like what we use, there's breakdowns. So we've had snowplows break down. We've had the rotary break down. At one point, we had where we had one rotary on each side of the river. One on the east side, I understand, broke down. So therefore, the people on the east side, you can only go so far. And a rotary's only going what? Does it go 1 mile an hour? So to cover 66 miles, you can just do the math and figure that out. And also, as far as manpower goes, you can't have the people available and scheduling as far as the extreme conditions, because if you had, in other words, when it's snowing hard, you need as many people as you can get. But if it's not, then of course you can back that off. So you can't necessarily schedule or have as many people as you'd like. So this is just, hopefully this was some information, the best I could get. And if John had anything that he'd like to add to that, or if any of the aldermen would like to add something, then certainly go ahead.
You took the rotaries away from us today.
What's that?
Enough of the rotaries.
Not for the rotaries.
They took them away from us today.
Did they really?
Yeah, every street's open.
Everything is...
Oh, yeah, of course.
John, at the one point there, how many consecutive hours did they end up working?
We had some in the group, 96.
Not consecutive, but in a week.
In a week's time, 96.
Yeah.
Right?
And I know that you worked over 24 at one time during this.
Between 20, some of us stayed 29, others stayed 32.
That is the type of dedication that our city employees have. And I would like you, as union president, to take the message back to your people that we really appreciate everything that was done. I had many people tell me that they were just in awe of the way that the snow was being taken care of and how open the streets were as quickly as they were with the amount of snow. And I believe the DPW deserves a round of applause for that.
I'd like to thank the council and the mayor for the effort and time he put in on the contract. I think it was a fair and equitable contract, and we all appreciate that. Thank you.
Anyone else on the council have any business? Anyone from the audience have any business for the council? Seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned. We will convene the meeting for the CDA very shortly.
We got a CDA meeting?
We got a CDA meeting?
There's that one that we, cool. We postponed last week. Oh, that's right.